Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel on Narcissism. And here we're going to take on a question that is so fundamental and so basic that I really should have done this video much earlier. What is a narcissist? So let's break that down. This is going to be one of those videos where I am hoping that by the end of the video, you will feel like you have learned something important about narcissism. So stay tuned. So I want to start with just the dictionary definition because it's very helpful. Narcissism is the quality of being self-centered, having an exaggerated sense of one's own importance, a strong need for excessive attention, and a lack of empathy for others. And if you think about that, those are all things that people who know narcissists or who have experienced narcissistic abuse would absolutely agree with. I do want to distinguish between what I call everyday narcissism and pathological narcissism, because I think we all have some everyday narcissism. It's kind of like selfishness. We all can be a little bit selfish. But selfishness as a character trait versus pathological narcissism are two different things. So when we're talking about narcissism on this channel, we're really talking about the pathological presentation of narcissism. Narcissism as a term was first used in the early 1900s by the psychoanalyst Otto Kernberg, and he used it to describe people who were self-centered and had a grandiose sense of themselves, but also were very vulnerable and fragile when criticized. The Greek word for narcissism comes from the myth of Narcissus, who was a hunter who was so handsome that he fell in love with his own reflection and eventually wasted away because he could not stop looking at himself. So the idea is that the narcissist becomes sort of stuck on themselves, their own image of themselves, and they become stuck there and unable to move forward. And this is the ancient root of the term narcissism. Narcissism as a diagnosis became part of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM, in 1980. And since then, our understanding of narcissism has grown significantly. And today, narcissism is viewed through the lens of a personality disorder. Specifically, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, NPD, is a personality disorder that is characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. So let me go through some of these characteristics that are associated with narcissistic personality disorder. First off, grandiose sense of self-importance. They believe they are superior, unique, special, and they require constant praise and admiration. They may exaggerate their achievements and talents, and expect to be recognized as being superior without commensurate achievements. They often have a sense of entitlement, meaning they believe they are entitled to special treatment and that rules don't apply to them. They may demand special favors and become very angry when they are not perceived to receive what they are entitled to. They may exploit others to get what they want. Narcissists view relationships as transactional. Narcissism and empathy are basically opposites. So as I talked about this point, you can see how this pops up. They lack empathy. They do not have the capacity to understand or share in the feelings of others. This lack of empathy can make it difficult for them to maintain close relationships because they cannot understand or respond appropriately to the emotional needs of others. They may use other people's emotions to get what they want. They are only able to have superficial relationships with people. Envy is another common characteristic of narcissism. They are envious of others and believe that others are envious of them, may disparage others or belittle their accomplishments to make themselves look better. Narcissists may try to harm others who they perceive as rivals and will protect their status and dominance fiercely. Hypersensitivity is another hallmark of narcissism. Narcissists are very sensitive to criticism and perceive even the most constructive criticism as a personal attack. They may react with rage or violence to perceived criticism and may hold grudges for years. Their ego is fragile and they cannot tolerate any vulnerability. Narcissism and shame are also linked. Although the narcissist does not show shame, they experience a lot of shame. Because of this, they may attempt to conceal their shame by putting on a false persona of confidence and superiority. They may also attempt to convince themselves that they are better than others to compensate. For their underlying feelings of inferiority, narcissism is also associated with a lot of anger. Narcissists can become very angry when they do and get their way and may lash out verbally or physically. They may hold grudges and seek revenge, which can make relationships difficult and unpredictable. Narcissism is also associated with manipulativeness and deception. Narcissists may manipulate and deceive others to get what they want and may be skilled at lying, cheating, and gaslighting. They may use their charm and charisma to manipulate others into doing what they want and may exploit others for their own gain. Narcissism is also linked to a lack of remorse or guilt. Narcissists do not feel remorse or guilt when they do something wrong. They may not apologize for their behavior and may blame others for their own mistakes. This lack of accountability can make it difficult for them to learn from their mistakes and can contribute to a pattern of harmful behavior. Narcissists also tend to be very controlling. They like to be in control of situations and people around them. They may become very angry when they lose control and may lash out or become passive-aggressive. Their need for control may also extend to their appearance and body image, and they may become very upset if their appearance changes due to aging or illness. Now, although I started this video by saying that narcissism is both a term that we use to describe people who have narcissistic personality disorder, but also that we can all have some everyday narcissism. What I'm describing here are the characteristics of pathological narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, and these are very serious characteristics. People who have narcissistic personality disorder are not cured by psychotherapy. Therapy can help them become slightly more functional, but they will never be cured of narcissistic personality disorder. There is no cure. Now, the question of whether or not someone has narcissistic personality disorder is one that has to be answered by a mental health professional after a thorough evaluation. However, if you recognize some of these behaviors in yourself or in someone you know, it is important to seek help. Narcissistic personality disorder can cause significant problems in relationships, work, and other areas of life. Thank you again.